Thank you so much for clicking on this video and being a part of our amazing community. If you enjoy what you see, hit that subscribe button and join us on this exciting journey. Your support means the world to me. Sit back, relax, and let's enjoy the video. My name is Ethan. Ever since I was a small boy, the allure of the Grand Canyon called to me. I would pore over books about it in the hushed library of my small town, picturing the vast red-hued chasm in my mind. Those dreams, however, remained unfulfilled due to my parents' crippling drug problem. Life was chaotic. There was never time or money for a family vacation. Now, decades later, I was finally about to live that dream. My wife Emily and I were headed to Arizona. I should have been over the moon, but there was something not quite right with Emily. Upon entering the hotel lobby, my attention was quickly drawn to a man who seemed to radiate an irresistible magnetism. He was tall, well-built, with dark tousled hair. He was strikingly handsome, and his tan skin suggested a life outdoors, a theory supported by his vibrant blue eyes that sparkled with a love for adventure. A sense of unease crawled over me as Emily's gaze kept finding him, completely unaware then of the role he was to play in our Grand Canyon tour. His rugged, model-like features screamed eye candy. I thought nothing of it initially, brushed it off as casual observation. We started our tour of the Grand Canyon on a bright morning. The splendor of the immense chasm was indescribable. The layers of rock stood like pages of an ancient, untouched book. I was captivated by its beauty, but I couldn't help but notice Emily's persistent gaze at a man also attending the tour. He was facing away, but then I realized it was the guy from the hotel lobby. As the tour bus rumbled to a start, my heart was pounding with excitement and nervousness, but I knew all I could do was trust my wife to be loyal. The tantalizing first glimpse of the Grand Canyon under the morning sun made it all real, like a boyhood dream seeping into reality. The vast expanse stretched out before us, a vivid display of hues red, orange, and brown splashed across the canyon walls. It was more than awe-inspiring, it felt like meeting a long-awaited friend. Our tour guide, a jovial, sun-wrinkled man named Marty, started the journey with anecdotes about the canyon's formation, its age, and the erosion by the Colorado River. I hung on to his every word, eagerly drinking in the fascinating geological history. Emily, however, seemed distant and distracted. As the tour bus trundled along the edge of the canyon, I pressed my face against the glass, soaking in the raw beauty of the landscape. The sheer immensity of the place overwhelmed me, every crag and crevice bursting with untold stories. The tour guide led us deeper into the canyon. Our group halted for a restroom break near a set of porta potties. Emily didn't join the queue. Instead, she slipped away towards the back, followed stealthily by the handsome stranger. I felt my heart squeeze in my chest, but I held my composure. I excused myself, navigated the labyrinth of rocks, and was greeted by a sight that could shatter any man's world. Emily and a stranger were embracing passionately. The sight sparked anger inside me, but I swallowed it, focusing on the vast beauty of the canyon. Ironically, it reminded me of my insignificant predicaments. With calculated calm, I stormed over to the man and pushed him away, asking what the hell he said. His shocked expression mirrored Emily's. I swiftly helped her into her clothes after the shocking discovery behind the porta potties. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions. I steered Emily back towards the group, the weight of betrayal gnawing at my insides. Yet, I was determined not to let this ordeal ruin my long-awaited experience. I pulled Emily to a secluded spot away from prying eyes. My heart pounded in my chest as I looked at her. Her hazel eyes were wide and glistening with tears. She opened her mouth, presumably to explain or apologize, but I cut her off. "Look," I began, my voice trembling slightly but filled with a determined edge. "I've waited my entire life for this moment. Nothing, not even this," I gestured vaguely between us, "will ruin it for me. We're here in the Grand Canyon. I don't care what you do or with whom once the tour is over. But right now," I took a deep breath, my grip tightening on her arm, "you will not spoil this for me." The command in my voice was unmistakable, leaving no room for argument. Emily nodded, her face a mixture of shock and guilt. I turned away from her, leaving her to her own thoughts while I returned to my long-cherished dream. Despite the unexpected turn of events, I was adamant about experiencing the Grand Canyon to the fullest. During the rest of the tour, I remained stoic, choosing to lavish my attention on the natural magnificence around us. My heart may have been breaking, but the Grand Canyon was mine to cherish. Emily sat by my side, confusion writ large on her face, but I paid her no heed, aggressively pointing out the details of the magnificent landscape to her. Back at the hotel, our room was as pristine as we had left it, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling between Emily and me. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the storm that was about to unleash. Emily was already on the verge of exploding. "Why weren't you angry?" she yelled, her face flushed, her eyes shining with unshed tears. She paced the room, her arms flailing about, her words laced with irrational accusations. "Why?" she continued, pointing an accusatory finger at me. "Because you don't care, right? Because you're just so indifferent?" I stood there, watching her tantrum with a calmness that seemed to infuriate her even more. I picked up the TV remote, nonchalantly flicking through channels as she ranted. The absurdity of the situation was almost comical. Finally, having enough of her theatrics, I turned off the TV and stood up. I walked over to her, my movement slow and deliberate. I looked at her, meeting her fiery gaze with my cool one. "Emily," I began, my voice calm but firm, "you cheated on me in the middle of our Grand Canyon tour, no less." I let my words hang in the air for a moment before continuing. "And yet here I am, standing in front of you, not because I'm indifferent, but because I refuse to let your actions dictate my reactions." I watched as she gaped at me, momentarily speechless. "So if you're done throwing your fit," I added, tossing the room key at her, "I suggest you take some time to reflect on your actions." Her face turned a deeper shade of red, a mix of embarrassment and fury, yet all she could do was stare at me, taken aback by my assertiveness. "Just one more thing," I said, a smirk playing on my lips as I walked towards the door. "When you're done reflecting, perhaps you'd like to join me for a pizza?" Reluctantly, she agreed, and I placed the order. When the pizza arrived, I handed the cash to the delivery guy, quickly nudging Emily out the door with him. "What in the goddamn hell?" she yelled as I closed the door and locked it, leaving her stunned on the other side. Her protests echoed through the room as I sat down, opening the pizza box. The enticing aroma of cheese and herbs wafted around the room. I turned on the TV, my favorite show playing, drowning out Emily's demands for re-entry. The pizza tasted divine as I savored each bite, immersed in the beauty of my beloved Grand Canyon and the familiar rhythm of my favorite show. My heart still throbbed painfully, yet I couldn't help but find a twisted sense of satisfaction in this scenario. I had always imagined my visit to the Grand Canyon would be unforgettable. It sure was, just not in the way I'd expected. Plus, the pizza was super good. Update 1: Life after the Grand Canyon trip was far from calm. Emily's fury at being kicked out of our hotel room had not abated, manifesting itself in a shocking retaliation. One evening, my father came to visit. His expression was a mixture of disbelief and anger. He relayed an incident that left me numb. Emily had tried to seduce him. My father, a man of high moral integrity, was appalled and immediately told her off. The audacity of her actions left me speechless, but it also sparked an idea. An idea so audacious that it was almost poetic justice. My wife's mother, Linda, had always been a lively, attractive woman. I decided to turn the tables and pay her a visit. Linda welcomed me warmly, unaware of the game I was about to play. Over a shared bottle of wine, I carefully crafted a facade of heartbroken vulnerability, spinning a tale of our failing marriage. Linda, having always been fond of me, empathized, offering comfort that soon led to an unexpected intimacy. As the evening drew to a close, I pulled out my phone. "Do you mind if we remember this night?" I asked Linda. She nodded and smiled. I leaned over and carefully placed it, ensuring it had a clear view of the unfolding events. I made sure that Emily discovered the video. Emily stood there, her face contorted with a mixture of disbelief and rage. She gripped her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white, the damning video still playing on the small screen. Her hazel eyes, usually soft and warm, were now ablaze with hurt and anger. "You slept with my mom," she screeched, her voice shaking with the intensity of her emotions. I looked at her, my own face a calm contrast to her tumultuous expression. "And you tried with my dad," I retorted, my voice steady, laced with a bitterness that surprised even me. Her cheeks turned a deeper shade of red, whether from shame or anger, I couldn't tell. She opened and closed her mouth several times, as if grappling with what to say next. "How dare you?" she finally spat, her voice barely a whisper. "How dare you do this to me, to us?" I sighed heavily, my brows furrowing as I met her fiery gaze. "How dare I?" I echoed, a sardonic smile tugging at my lips. "How dare you, Emily? You cheated on me during our Grand Canyon tour, then tried to seduce my father. What did you expect?" She flinched as if I'd slapped her, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. Her hands clenched into fists at her side, her entire body trembling with raw emotion. I could see her grappling with the reality of the situation, the mirror of her own actions held up for her to see. For a moment, we stood there, a tangible tension stretching between us. Then, slowly, Emily dropped onto the sofa, her gaze fixed on the floor, her expression a mix of guilt and regret. We had inflicted irreparable damage to our relationship, and now we had to face the consequences. Despite the anger, the hurt, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. After all, it was the end of a chapter, no matter how tumultuous it had turned out to be. I guess the real Grand Canyon wasn't the only gaping hole revealed on this trip. If there's one thing to take away from this wild ride, it's that you should always keep your eyes open during a tour. You never know when you'll need to spot more than just nature's wonders. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and become a part of our growing community. Now, I invite you to share your thoughts, opinions, and ideas in the comments below. I genuinely value your feedback and look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Let's connect, learn, and grow together.